know you're gonna dig this.
This is Rhine McLin, host of the Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center's award-winning show, Funk Chronicles, recorded live here at DATV Studios in Dayton, Ohio. And now, my in-studio guests are all the way from Lima, Ohio, Londell Smith, and Columbus, Ohio, Earth Jallow and Khari Enaharo. Welcome.
Welcome.
We're glad to have you here. You know, this is Talkback. This is Talkback with the Funk Chronicles. And one of the things we wanted to discuss today was how has the internet impact radio shows?
Okay. All right. Well, I'll start. You know, being
Londell, go right ahead.
Being host of a radio show, I find it interesting because I can recall when I was young, you know, listening to the radio, you know, we knew what we were going to, because we didn't have a whole lot of options. Right. It was just a matter of, okay, what you see is what you get. And fortunately, it was good. Well, now, because we live in that microwave, I can have it my way type of generation, you know, if you don't want to tune in to the radio station, whether it be because you're no longer in the car or maybe not in your house or your office, you know, you have all these different smart devices to where, you know, as long as you have internet ability or access, you can listen to whatever you want, when you want. And in some cases, you know, minimal commercial or without commercial. So, you know, you really pretty much get to, you know, pick and choose what you want to listen to, when you want to listen to it, and how long you want to listen to it without really missing a beat. So I think that has dramatically impacted the way, you know, we listen to radio these days. And if you think about it, even cars now, you know, are going away from the CD players and the cassette players. Now it's all, you know, Bluetooth and satellite radio. So it's had a tremendous impact. And as host of a radio show, you know, unless you have that following that says, hey, you know what, there is important content that's going to be delivered. There's going to be some information shared that, you know, I may not be able to get from the internet streaming live or streaming wide. And if you're looking for local content, then that may, you know, for the most part, be the primary reason people tune in to local radio.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that you, when you think about radio, is that even with all the latest data, radio has not decreased. And so that is so interesting because
that was one of the points I was going to make.
Yeah, it has increased in its listening. And would you want to, Mr. Khari, would you like to chip in on that?
I would say in the African American community, in particular amongst the older set and some of the younger set, because of convenience. I mean, look, what people want is content.
Right.
And the platform by which it's delivered is just something that's different. Maybe I can go get a platform out of an iPage or a phone. I mean, but the platform is not the power. The content is the power.
It's the content.
And that's what drives everything. I don't care. We could have 3,000 different platforms. Everybody would go to the platform to get the same content.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For me, you know, internet radio is great because it's so many different stations that you can tune into. Everybody has something, and you know, different topics for different people, whether you want health, religion, whatever it is that you want. And it's a lot of talk going on, not just the music. People are tuning in for information, and that's not really coming through mainstream, you know, radio stations. So the internet was an added bonus for a lot of people who might not even, you know, wouldn't normally listen or try to find some talk on radio that has to do with the African American and their plights.
But the most difficult part about internet radio is how to monetize it. That's the most difficult part about internet, period. When you're competing against 35 radio stations versus you're competing against 5 million internet radio stations, you can see the dynamics of it. So it's really a challenge. And those people who get that science down are those who last in the business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you see a lot of folks who have start up radio shows and then they think it's easy, and then they realize
So they get into it.
until they get into it, and they don't make it. And the other thing is that I teach at Central State, and one of my projects I have for my students is that that they should choose a song and tell what the social problems are in the song. Well, guess where they go get the music from the old school music during the funk time music, because that has meaning in it. Those songs in those days, and you know, one of the things that I'm just going to take one of the premier leaders of the funk movement was James Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you go to him doing this song about please, please, please. Now, the other people couldn't understand what he was saying when he was just please, please, please. What do you want? But you know, whatever it is, just isn't there more to this song than please, please, please? And I can remember seeing him at Memorial Hall doing just the please, please, please. And what was the guy that had the cape that would come out and put it on his shoulders?
It was a saxophonist, Maceo.
Maceo would put the cape on his shoulder, and he would start, and then he would go so far, and then he would shake it off, and he would go back some more with please, please, please.
Preach it up, man. Preach it up.
But you know, and that's the kind of, you know, and when you talk about this to these kids, like when they saw the movie about James Brown, it takes them back to say, I want to know a little more about that.
Right.
And even when you go back in that movie, you know, you find out that Bootsy Collins and them were the group that replaced when his band when his band went on strike. Back in those days, they just took a leave of absence.
Funk connects. Funk was part of the movement of black people.
Right.
And I'm not trying, and you know, I'm saying it unapologetically. That's what it is. It's the vibe, it's the rhythm. It's all the way from Africa. It gives us the feel, the pulse of who we are. Right. And this is what caused us to move. Curtis Mayfield's We Are Winner, Keep On Pushing. All of that stuff was designed to move black people from point A to point B to point C to point D. I don't know what this music is doing now except creating a lot of confusion.
That's what we're missing.
And that's what the radio, and
funk
that's
was
why,
all about that.
And that's where radio really comes into play now, because the old school radio stations, I mean, they're pretty solid. Those old school radio shows, stations are pretty solid because they bring back memories, you know, and
you need that spiritual connection.
You do.
That's
need
what's
it.
lost with us.
And I remember because Khari and I go way back, and I was driving to another place, and the song came on by the Gap Band, and I can't remember what the song was at the time, but all I could think of was Khari. So I called him, you know, and you know, and it's just like roller skating. You hear a music, and you hear a certain song. Oh wow, that was a great roller skating song.
Oh my goodness.
Well, and you know, and funk did that to us, you know, because we can all remember where we were when this particular song came out, or what we were doing, or what was so hot about that particular song. But then also what I appreciate about funk music is that it evoked creativity. You know, I mean, you know, I grew up playing the drums, okay, and I started playing the drums in the church, but it wasn't church music that really inspired me to play the drums. But when you listen to One Way, you listen to, you know, Phaso, you listen to, you know, Zap, you know, you listen to, you're like, wow, you know what? I want to do that. I want to do that. And you can't, and they were.
I don't want to offend nobody, but it's like putting, what's that you put into the milk into the coffee?
Oh, yeah.
The creamer.
I mean, it changed the whole way in which we see the world.
Right.
And the way the kids dress. If you go to some of the clubs now and watch some of them kids dance, they're all out of rhythm. You cannot lose your rhythm.
Right.
Funk is the heart and soul of our rhythm. It's who we are. And then out of that, we get the message, we get the understanding. understanding, and we can move. Now the message is confused. We don't know what to do except stand and be frozen because the music does not deliver direction for us.
Absolutely.
And let's go back. I want to piggyback on that point. The music has always been the thermometer of the cultural movement at the time. And if we go back to when you listen to War, or that song is just as relevant today as it was when, or Marvin Gaye's What's Going On.
Oh my goodness.
And so when you start thinking about funk, you know, Elvis Presley, those folks rock and roll.
Right.
We were funk. As Khari so passionately said, it was directed to our soul and our movement.
It vibrated us. It vibrated us to another level. It vibrated us to action. You know, what are we going to do now? I don't see in 2015 the movement that I saw back in the day when funk music was prevalent. You know, I grew up and we love, I'm from Youngstown, Ohio originally.
Well, that's an interesting town.
I'm telling you, Parliament. Bootsy Collins, George Clinton. That is, right now today, let George Clinton come through anywhere where we gonna be, and we are up all night.
They understand that whoever controls the music of a people controls the people. And so when the music flipped up in the 90s and went to the gangster this and the gangster that, it changed the whole culture. Look at country music. Music is tied up into lifestyles. It creates a lifestyle. It is part of it. So all of a sudden the pants went down, started sagging, the disrespect went up, tattoos. I mean, it just changed who we were.
From the music.
And it was influenced by the music.
The disrespect
for
females.
Or for men.
For
males also, for everybody.
About having children without necessarily having a husband. And if you listen to their music, and one of the things that has really fascinated me, because in the old days, I call myself a primitive modern woman, you had a relationship, okay? So if you were my boyfriend, Lon, you would come and ask me, can we go together? Would you be my boyfriend, girlfriend, or what? So you knew.
Yes or no, right?
You knew you had a relationship.
That's right.
Now, I've been teaching for a while, and I asked the question, how do you know you're in a relationship? Because see, even our music told us, there was a song that called How Do You Want to Succeed in Love? It told you the steps you're supposed to take when you had a broken heart. Or there was a song for that. There was a song for every emotion that you had. And so when you ask today, what is a relationship? You end up getting this friends with benefits. And I'm like, I don't understand this. So how do you know? I said, well, maybe the second follow-up question is, how do you know you're in a relationship?
That's an interesting question.
Well, I'm trying to tell you, for the last 2.5 years, I've been teaching this particular course. I haven't got an answer.
Well, the music is different. When you heard I'm So Proud by the Impressions, you heard of a spiritual love for his woman.
That's right.
Now what you hear is my the B word in all of the music. So there's no respect. As a matter of fact, in our music now, we speak a war language.
We do.
We used to speak a love and peace language to each other. We speak a war language now, and a language of disrespect, and that's what causes us to be at each other and breaks us up.
Also, you know, that music has a way to create the environment or set the atmosphere. Like, for example, if we knew we were going to play a football game, we're not listening to Teddy Pendergrass.
You turn off the lights.
You know what I mean?
You turn on the Gap Band.
There's a certain element that you want, you know. Now, we flip that to today because you see a lot of young people say, hey, I'm not affected by the music. I'm not impacted by the music. Yes, you are. Because, you know, it was once said to me that music is nothing more than confession put to a melody. So what you continue to profess, because again, you're speaking it. You're speaking it. So music and songs are being systemically created for the sole purpose of getting you to recite it. So the more you speak it, the more you can become it. So if all I'm saying is, be this, or I'm going to kill this person, or I'm going to sell drugs, then what am I going to aspire to do?
Or using the N word, and to the point that this younger generation talks about is an affectionate term.
Right.
No,
nothing affectionate about that.
The question really is, who is creating the music?
Yes.
Is that music coming from us?
No.
Or is it coming
Absolutely.
outside of other
Absolutely.
sources who know if you control the psychology and the spirituality of the music, you control
the people.
the psyche
You
of the
got the
people.
money.
So
Well,
who's creating
and
the
we
music?
talk about the
Or who's
corporate,
selling
the
Both.
corporate takeover of hip hop.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you see it, and it's owned by like 3 major companies, and those companies that actually own the little companies that these so-called musicians come out of with the hip hop. Have stock in Smith and Wessons. They have
Private
stock,
prisons.
Private prisons. They have stock in
Tip services.
and alcohol. So
Right.
they have stock in all the negative things that are impacting.
Well, Death Row
our
Records.
feeding
Remember
it.
Death Row
Death
Records?
Row?
Right.
Death Row was not owned by black people.
That's right.
No.
That's
I mean, it had nothing. Look, this isn't in my opinion, this is an attack on black people using the music as the driving
That we love,
force.
right.
Using the music
because they know that's what we listen
because
to.
they knew what funk did for us. It lifted us
they
up.
can't
And by
let that
lifting us
happen.
up, it
Right.
lifted up all the people of the world around us. It created more harmony than any music in
Absolutely.
the history of the world.
I mean, you remember Nina Simone singing, to be young, gifted, and black.
Right.
And then the movement when James Brown sang, I'm black and I'm proud.
Correct.
So they saw that as an uprising.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the music dictated where we were going, what we were going to do. I'm going to get me some education. Because when you think about Houdini, who came out with that was soft hit, what you would call that was hip hop.
Friends. I mean,
Friends.
That was just easy music, right?
But then Ice-T came.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Then after Ice-T, they started just one
problem-
by one,
Yeah.
NWA.
The
and the
problem
whole
is we
nine.
don't know who these people are.
Right.
We don't know where they come from. We don't
Right.
know their background. What we've noticed that a lot of people who have intelligence background, military intelligence background, were infiltrated into the music movement.
Absolutely.
And that includes gangster, that includes even the old movement from the 60s, the the hippie movement. All of that was created by military intelligence. So we don't know who's behind this music, but what we do know is what funk did. And they
Right.
said never again
Right.
can we allow funk to rise. But we have to rise funk because it is the salvation of the world.
And that's what's not being played on mainstream radio, terrestrial radios, and you have to look for it. We have it, but that's not what's being pushed to our younger generation so that they can get pushed to action. And that music is universal, so it wouldn't take nothing but a few artists doing a few songs
The beat
that
demands action.
Absolutely.
It demands that you get up and
It
do something
inspires action.
constructive with
Absolutely.
your life.
It tells you,
But it demands it.
Get off the couch.
But the key is the rhythm of the beat.
Right.
That's the
because
key.
we vibrate.
Because now some of this music that you hear, that's when you're sitting at their light and it's so loud that they have you turning on,
Yes.
trying to turn down your radio that's already off.
And it's not even yours.
Okay. So there you are. And
I was
then,
guilty of that, by the way.
And then when you look over,
Noise.
when you
Not
look,
music,
when you
noise.
look
Right.
over and you see the demographic of who might
Oh,
be
yeah.
in that car, it's
Absolutely.
not what you
Yes.
expect.
Yes, yes.
Well, you think about it. Hip hop didn't become a movement solely on the backs or the shoulders of African Americans.
That's
You know,
right.
When India,
We don't
when
purchase most of the
NWA and
music.
things and all
That's
that
right.
came out, that went out to the suburbs. And it wasn't until the parents of those kids started listening to it and like, what is that? What is that? No, what is that? And, that's when the uproar became. But it wasn't black people
Right.
that carried the gangster rap banner. It was more the suburban and the rural, and they're like, you know what? If we can make sure that the inner city kids are just
Inundated.
saturated and inundated with this, then guess what? They will remain confused. They will remain distracted.
Well,
You know,
look at
And
the
divided.
effect on our behavior, on our children's
Absolutely.
behavior. The exact things that they talked about or the exact kinds of behaviors that are reflected in that music.
And that's why it's easy for them to pick up a gun and shoot one another.
Absolutely.
You know,
Because the song says, I got my hand on the 9.
Right.
Right,
Well,
right.
And they glorify. You
They
glorify behavior that degrades your woman. You glorify your drug culture. You glorify criminality.
Yeah.
That was no accident, and that didn't come from us. That came, and most of the people who are buying the music are not black, they're white, and they see black people as comic book characters through that music.
We're entertainers. We're nothing more but just the next
And
wave
so
of
it's easy
entertainment
then
forms.
for a
Right.
policeman to pull up next to you, pull out a gun and shoot at an unblack man. Why not? He's a monster.
Right.
You glorify he's a criminal
Right.
because
Right.
that image through
It's
that
already
music
ingrained.
has glorified you as a
And
criminal or as a monster.
let's think of how that happened. When you look at traditional radio or radio stations, you know, have you found it interesting that they typically play the same song once an hour?
over and
You know?
over. No, at least 3 times
Or
in an
maybe,
hour.
all right, but then what's the...
And back in the day, that
Right.
would have been called payola.
Right,
okay.
but when you think about it, okay? Repetition is the mother of learning.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
So the more and more you hear it, the more, I mean,
Brainwashing.
and that's
Yeah.
why you can look at a kid and say, you can't even read, but you know every lyric,
Every
to
lyric
this particular
to
song. You
this-
know all of this, you know all the
Absolutely.
moves, but you can't even read, you know, see Jane run.
Because we have not reconnected that rhythmic flow and started teaching our children from it. That's how we learn.
Right.
That's why when they took phonics out of school,
Absolutely.
it was A-E-I-O-U.
Well, that's
We
why I
don't go- we
appreciate
don't
the
do
work
it.
of David Webb
You know?
with
Yes.
the
Absolutely.
Funk, Music Hall of Fame Exhibition Center. We have got to support this brother.
Gotta do it.
I mean, crusades like that, because it's more than just the music, it's the salvation of a
children,
people.
yes.
And this music reflects that salvation. So we've got to support his efforts and anybody that's trying to reconnect funk into our lives.
Absolutely.
And let's just take this even further. You know that they did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
We as a people need to wrap our arms around the Funk Music Hall of Fame because it's ours.
Yes.
It's ours.
Right.
We created it.
We created it. And this is one where, you know, if you miss a meal going out for dinner, you can donate $25.
Right.
And I mean,
Right.
and one of the things that we have to do, there's 3 kinds of people, and that's those who make things happen,
Well-
those who watch what's happening, and
Go on,
those who
Reverend.
don't know what's
happened.
happening.
Reverend preacher.
And
Reverend
so,
preacher.
so in this particular case, we always are looking for someone else to support our efforts of what we want. This is one where we need to start putting our nickels and dimes together so that when David Webb and the group go out to say, we already have X amount of dollars here, match us to help us do these things. You know, and we'll say, well, my 10 cents don't matter. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. You're paying that 10 cents on a pair of shoes, so
Or that pie that's no good for you. I'm just saying.
and so you know, and so this is one of the things that I mean, because right now David Webb is the Walt Disney.
Right.
You know, he sees the vision. He's bringing others of us along to see the vision. You know, Walt Disney was down in Florida, and he saw a mountain, and nobody said there's no mountains in Florida.
Right.
But now there is with Disney World.
His work is deeper than the music.
And
that's
so-
what I'm saying. This is
Yeah.
the salvation.
And this is salvation
This is
of
salvation.
people.
Generations.
But I'm
Yes.
talking about that he has the vision, and that we need to see. Though some of us see the vision, some of us don't.
Right.
But it is our job not to be the naysayers, but to be the folks that promote it and change how folks
Yes.
think. To say we need ownership
Right.
in something.
Yes.
Well, and look at it.
This is what we need. We need ownership
Right.
because how few radio stations do we actually own?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Correct.
So which would have control? How many TV stations do we actually own? Where we have direct control over getting the message out to our people.
The message out and also hiring us in mass numbers.
And programming.
Right.
So, so when we get back to the Funk Music Hall and Exhibition Center, which will also have an education component,
Right.
which has to be there to further our people. They don't have it, and it's our duty. It's our duty.
Well, it's our responsibility. And now I'm going to piggyback on a few things that you said. Now, first, I want to remind everybody: A, you'll never change the system you depend on.
Yeah.
So as long as we continue to ask for someone else to do it for us, even if they're generous enough to do it, they're still going to control it.
That's right.
Okay. Now, when we talk about the efforts of Brother Webb and what we're trying to do, especially in the Dayton area, we are honored because this is the home, this is the mecca of funk music anyway, to begin with. So we definitely ought to support it. But look at all the different things, there's music education. Yes, there are social programs, social consciousness, social awareness. This is a unique opportunity that we have to take back a generation, to be able to say, you know what, that generation X and Y, perhaps we didn't sow into them like we should have, but instead of making excuses, now we can say, let's right this wrong. Let's right the ship. Let's turn the corner and say, hey, this is something that we could do right here on purpose. And there's a role that everyone can play to help see that it gets done.
Earth, we're winding up. Well, let me have your final comments here.
The Funk Music Hall of Fame and Exhibition Center, I am in total support of it. I think it's going to be awesome for our children to reconnect, and we bridge that gap between the old and the new. It's a mandatory thing, and I'm going to support it.
Right.
Khari.
We must do it. I mean, there is no option. It's not like you have an option, we can or cannot do it. We must support David Webb's efforts, and we must get behind this for the salvation of our people and ourselves and our souls.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Earth,
you
from
for
coming
having
from
me.
Columbus. I want to thank you, Londell, from coming from Lima. And I want to thank you, Khari, from coming from Columbus on this Talk Back from Funk Chronicles. This is Rhine McLin thanking you for being with us, and see you next time on Talk Back.
Thank you.